In this video, you'll find out how you can become an unbreakable investor. Perhaps in a different universe, it's possible to get wealthy in an instant. Simply consider fantasies, where the saint blunders on a gigantic fortune, turns into the most overgenerous man in the realm and lives joyfully ever after. In the event that you check the web for investment advice, a few specialists appear to live in that world as well, or possibly they simply like fantasies. Unfortunately, their investment plans don't work in this world. However, you can turn into an extremely effective financial specialist. Also, to get there, you don't have to examine money. This book will disclose to you how to utilize your good judgment to make a strong assumption design and create your own portfolio, one that coordinates your objectives, your nature, and your circumstance throughout everyday life. Also, you will find out around a couple of normal and excessive errors, and about the most ideal approach to guard your cash on violent occasions. You'll also discover in this chapter why Yale's investment system won't benefit you in any way, the advantages of disregarding your venture account, and why you're not Marty McFly, and how that affects your portfolio. Investors are not all equal. Ever played with embracing a similar venture procedure as a ridiculously wealthy organization? Regardless of whether it was harmful and complex, it worked for them. Is there any good reason why it shouldn't work for you, as well? Yes, for various reasons. Institutional financial specialists face totally different conditions for singular speculators like you. Above all else, exchanging is more affordable for institutional financial specialists. Why? Their size gives them the influence they need to arrange lower charges when managing investment platforms. Besides, establishments utilize a few experts, even full-time staff individuals, to deal with their portfolios on an everyday premise. This is something that most individual financial specialists can't manage. Not all institutional financial specialists are made equivalent, by the same token. The measure of assets accessible varies broadly, thus also do the arrangements they get into the compound. Take Yale University. Yale's reward store appreciates a huge number of dollars in awards and gifts every year. The entirety of this is overseen by boss speculation official David Swensen. Up until this point, Swensen has worked effectively. With 14% acquired each year since the mid-1990s, Swensen's portfolio, the board style, is generally respected, and even obtained its own name, the Yale model. Most foundations can't contribute on a similar enormous scope as Yale. Also, just massive scope financial specialists, similar to Yale, can bear the cost of the high leased ventures needed to get into the subsidies that are so appealing as a direct result of their low administrative expenses. Yale isn't just a huge scope of financial specialist, yet additionally a charitable. Charities profit by extra points of interest that different speculators can't get to. As a university, Yale makes some unending memory skyline. This implies that there is no time limit on when a venture pays out. This is especially helpful in light of the fact that it implies Yale isn't obliged to confine its technique to passing speculations. Nonprofits may likewise be released from making good on duties, while a portfolio directed on a similar level by a private speculator would oppose critical taxation rates. So, the venture methodologies of institutional monsters won't assist you with a trip. To prevail as an individual investor, you'll need to locate your own way. Before you set out on your journey, how about we examine a couple of basic mix-ups that you'd be smart to stay away from? To begin with your investment journey, you need to know what not to do. While numerous books disclose what you need to do as a fruitful financial specialist, few uncover what not to do. But having the option to evade unfortunate habits and senseless slip-ups can have an enormous effect. As per monetary counselor Nick Murray, financial specialists who write regular missteps can support their yearly returns by 3 to 4%. In the event that there's one thing you ought to evade from the beginning, it's hoping to get rich quick. Today, we're out and out fixated on finding the way to prompt abundance. Honestly, it doesn't exist. Anybody professing to have the key to moment achievement is either tricking themselves or endeavoring to trick you. Try not to focus on them. Another normal slip-up is arrogance. Markets are unfathomably hard to anticipate because of the innumerable factors we people can't handle. Arrogant speculators will in general fail to remember this and give orders as though they realize precisely how the future will work out. For instance, they may put a ton of cash into a stock that did well for a couple of months, and wind up enduring impressive misfortunes not long after that. At long last, oppose the compulsion to follow the group. We will in general do what every other person does on the grounds that it feels more secure, all things considered, so numerous individuals can't all be right, correct? Tragically, they can. We saw this in the land bubble during the 2000s. Individuals purchased the property they couldn't bear since every other person was likewise purchasing beyond what they could manage. However, the bubble burst and lives were demolished. Along these lines, help your contributing profession out and consistently have an independent perspective. Obviously, realizing what to stay away from isn't all that matters. Accomplishment as a speculator likewise depends on a couple of key qualities. See whether you have the stuff in the following chapter. Effective speculators are emotionally mindful, keep their cool, and stay attentive. You should seriously think about yourself as genuinely smart. However, is adequately this to make progress? Depends. Notwithstanding your opinion, a high IQ isn't the lone marker of insight. It's an enthusiastic insight that will keep you above water. Emotional knowledge is the capacity to perceive and deal with our own sentiments and those that exist between individuals, says clinician Daniel Goleman. At the end of the day, we need to realize how our feelings impact our activities and the individuals around us. Yet, what does this have to do with contributing? An extraordinary arrangement. A financial specialist who feels playful and daring on a given day is probably going to make foolish, conceivably pulverizing choices on the off chance that he isn't cautious. Perceiving when your feelings are blurring your normal judgment could save you a difficult situation. Another characteristic that effective speculators have is the capacity to remain totally relaxed. Truly, even in circumstances where your funds are in a major dilemma. Yet, how? Indeed, how about we think back as expected for a model? It's the 1989 Super Bowl, and things aren't looking extraordinary for the San Francisco 49ers, time is expiring, and the rival group is ahead by 3. Notwithstanding this, quarterback Joe Montana keeps his cool, consoles his partners, and scores an ideal score to dominate the match. His capacity to remain formed empowered him to win 4 Super Bowls. Speculators can follow some guidelines from Montana's experience when confronting market declines or a financial emergency. Instead of freezing and auctioning off their resources for pennies, they must keep it together to survey the circumstance with an unmistakable head and make a reasonable technique. To wrap things up, great financial specialists are consistently careful. All in all, they know when they don't know something. In the event that they don't feel comfortable around a market or plan, they avoid it. For example, on the off chance that you needed to put resources into the Chinese financial exchange, you'd need to find out if you really get it. If not, don't get included. You just won't have the option to recognize hazards, similar to a creating bubble, until it's past the point of no return. Anyway, in the event that you have every one of these qualities under control and are resolved to turn into a speculator, what's next? Start your excursion by finding out about the dangers you'll look at en route. High rewards come with high risk. Risk is a word that gets tossed around a great deal by financial specialists. However, it can mean a wide range of things to various individuals. For a few, the danger is attached to losing cash, while others consider it to be unpredictability. Yet, for each situation, the danger is constantly appended to rewards, a relationship that likewise shapes your venture decisions. To lay it out plainly, more serious risks yield more noteworthy prizes. At the end of the day, don't expect enormous payouts when you avoid any and all risks. Furthermore, by a similar token, be ready for an uneven ride in case you're chasing huge prizes. Nothing is free. This is the situation with various resource classes in the venture. Think about the normal yearly returns for stocks, bonds, and money from 1928 through to 2013, all adjusted for expansion. Stocks return 6.5%, securities 1.9%, and money 0.5%. Stocks yield the best yields, and they're additionally powerless to the best misfortunes on specific occasions. Why are stocks so conflicting? All things considered, their worth depends on the profits and other income they'll yield later on. Yet, these are reliant on the people maintaining the business and the idea of the monetary market. Stocks, as such, include a ton of dangers, as reflected in their high hazard premium. Bonds procured multiple times not as much as stocks and are viewed as somewhat less dangerous. Why? Speculators are bound to get their profits inside a considerable measure of time. This, thus, is reflected in the lower hazard premium of stocks. cash is the most secure of all, with stable yearly returns and no misfortunes. Be that as it may, this well-being is joined by lower returns, with yearly returns of a simple 0.5%. After expansion, you'd need to stand by 150 years to twofold your speculation. Since we've explored the advantages and dangers of these three resource classes, you're prepared to begin arranging your excursion. Figure out how to make your own venture guide in the following chapter. Make a venture plan custom-fitted to your character. Ever taken a character test? They're loads of fun, and they can prove to be useful when you begin contributing. Why? Since speculators need to characterize what their identity is and discover the name that fits them best. It is safe to say that you are a pattern supporter, a transient dealer, or a differentiated resource allocator. The rundown goes on, and you must discover one that suits your character perfectly. Ask yourself what your center venture esteems are, and whether a specific style accommodates your social habits and individual circumstance. Is it accurate to say that you are a daring individual? Or on the other hand, would you like to hold your resources for quite a long time? With this sorted out, you'll need to make your own venture plan. What's more, don't disparage the significance of this progression. Each time you're prepared to take an incautious action, a look at your arrangement will shield you from acting wildly. A speculation plan encourages you to pick what to do every day to arrive at your drawn-out objectives. From which sorts of stocks and bonds to consolidate in your portfolio, to which conditions you plan on purchasing and selling in, your arrangement will stop pointless mistakes from the beginning. This is somewhat similar to how Alabama Crimson Tide mentor Nick Saban drove his group to win 4 public titles. Instead of following each new pattern in a hostile and protective ballplayer, Saban makes one arrangement in particular. Also, his group sticks to this arrangement strictly. With your own customized venture methodology, you'll have the option to oppose the dodgy guidance of self-delegated speculation masters. Stick to your weapons and receive the rewards. For the well-being of your future, make a different portfolio and stick to it. Have you seen Back to the Future Part 2? In this film, Marty McFly goes to the future and purchases a record of sports insights to reclaim the past. Furnished with the information on each game occasion, later on, he desires to rake in huge profits wagering on the outcomes. In any case, in contrast to Marty McFly, we have no clue about what the future will hold. Yet, we can make our wagers more secure by putting resources into an assorted scope of resources. By expanding across various resource classes and danger factors, we can set ourselves up for the most exceedingly awful. In the event that anything turns out badly in one class, our misfortunes will level out through the increases made in different classes. Having your portfolio spread across different resources may mean you pass up extra huge increases when one of your resources progresses nicely. However, this is an adequate penance to make to defend yourself against going belly up. Whenever you've allotted your resources, don't migrate them except if you have a generally excellent motivation to do as such. Changing your mindfully organized portfolio unexpectedly is awful information. An investigation by Fidelity Investments uncovered that the top-performing portfolios were those the proprietors had disregarded. At the end of the day, the portfolios where nothing had been changed for quite a long time. Persistently rethinking your portfolio choices can make additional exchanging costs, charge suggestions, and mental weight. In case you're sure you need to change your portfolio, you'll need reasons more significant than, on the grounds that I feared that, or in light of the fact that I got so amped up for. The market varies, and these vacillations ought to never be motivated to change your portfolio. Final summary. The key message in this book. Stay mindful of your monetary circumstance, your character, and passionate states when settling on venture choices. With a straightforward, predictable technique and insightful methodology, sound judgment is your guide on your excursion to turning into a fruitful speculator. Here's what you can implement starting today. Set up your venture plan as a written record. Don't simply depend on your memory. Get your speculation plan recorded. It doesn't make a difference how long it is, the way toward composing it is vital. Why? Since to get something on paper, you should be explicit about how you will deal with your portfolio. This is a focal point of an effective contribution. You like what you hear? Check out other personal development or business books. This video was made possible by your support. It takes a very long time to make one of our videos, so thanks to your contributions to Patreon and watching our videos, we are slowly able to do more and more of them. If you want to help us out, check out the Patreon page. If you like the contents of this video, check out other books in the description and suggest what book we should cover next.